Yo, what up? It's your boy More for More Beats. How y'all doing today? I hope everybody is well, doing well, staying safe, and all those good things. Listen, I just wanted to slide through and share testimony. Actually, November the 19th will be a year that I have came off of my regular job to come and work for my church ministry and do music for a time. So I guess just thinking about how God has been just providing and, keeping everything going. I wanted to share a story on something that happened early on in my production career. And I just want to share with you guys so y'all can be aware of it, so you can not be ignorant to something that tends to slides in unexpectedly. So today I want to talk about how I almost allowed pride to destroy my music career. But before we get into it, I want you guys to please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check out the YouTube channel, man. I got a lot of good stuff on there. I just recently came out with a how to get started in Beatmaker 3 for those that use Beatmaker 3 on the iPad. But yes, please like and share and subscribe, and please share this story, share this video with someone that you know that may be a fellow producer in the music business, or just in general, because it's a life hack, if I can say that. So I've been producing over 20 years. I started around 2002. I started out with some brothers that went to church with me. That I went to church, that I still go to church with to this day. Actually, they started a group, and eventually we just started this group called Sound Minds Ministry, Sound Minds Music. And I started out producing, making beats with them, and it just grew. It was like 15 of us in the group, and I was responsible for all of the music production, all of the recording and stuff. So that's where I started at. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina and Rita hit. So we end up leaving New Orleans, that's where I'm originally from. We end up leaving New Orleans and going to Texas. And we got to Texas, and just trying to figure it out. New life, new everything. I was still, once we got settled in, still working, producing with my group and stuff. And eventually I went on further in my production career. And around 2006, 2007 is when I started working with other artists. Now, let me tell you, when I first started out, like in 2007, that was a time where I couldn't even give away a beat. I just couldn't give it away. That was back in the MySpace days, and I used to be literally telling people, man, I got beats I want to give away. Couldn't give away anything. And you're talking about a humble process, some humble times, and I was decent at the time, but I just couldn't give away a beat, man. So I remember, as time went on, people started, checking me out, and started building a little steam as a producer. I got to a place where I was working with a lot of indie producers, and at that time, I was making money off the music. Actually, in 2007, I went full-time musically, and I did music full-time for 7 years straight. From 2007 to 2013, 14, 2014 is when I went back into the workplace. But from 2007 to 2014, I did music full time. That's how I fed my family. just strictly off of making beats. And so in that time span, man, like I say, man, I started working with indie artists. There was some indie artists that were really doing good in their neighborhoods, doing good in their areas. And then along came a friend of mine, which and to this day we're good friends, and he was my friend, and he took me on as a client. He was an artist producer manager. So he took me on as one of his clients. And in that process, shout out to my man Sharif Chauncey, that's my brother. Through that process, man, he really groomed me as a producer. He really just, he cultivated, my sound. Originally, I'm a Southern producer. I'm from the South, so everything I was doing was South type of tracks, and he challenged me to, do tracks that were not South, you know what I'm saying? So that's when I started, really started building up my diversity chops, doing, East Coast tracks, West Coast tracks, pop tracks, you know what I'm saying? Just, he challenged me to do different types of genres of music. And I got really good, you know what I'm saying? I got to the place where, that wasn't a genre that I couldn't do, because, he was critiquing the music, and he was helping the brother. And in the midst of that, as my sound is being more diverse and I'm spreading out, I'm working with a lot of artists. So, there came a point in time where I'm like, I'm feeling myself, because I'm going back and I'm playing the music back, and I'm like, man, I get busy, you know what I'm saying? I'm nice with it, and I was feeling myself. I just got to the place where I just started feeling myself, and it wasn't all that good, man. I mean, I started, some arrogancy started to kick in, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm telling you, I was working with a lot of indie artists. I didn't really hit that major artist just yet, but I was working with a lot of industry artists. But in the midst of that, well, there's no but. As time was going on, Sharif was submitting my music to major Christian artists, hip-hop artists. So there was this one particular artist that at that time, he's like one of the top artists that you want to work with. And Sharif had a good relationship with the record label. So, I already had a shoe in. So Sharif, he submitted like 2-3 joints. They're going back and forth via email. So I'm getting the text. So Sharif, he's sending me like the emails and telling me, yeah, man, dudes, he liking them joints. You know what I'm saying? He got these 2 for sure, and, me, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have 2 placements on this mainstream artist album. Like, man, you couldn't tell me nothing. But there's something that I learned, and this is something for all my fellow producers maybe watching this. If an artist doesn't, it used to be, if the artist don't ask for the stems, there's no guarantee. But forget that. If the artist don't send you, it's even to the point now, if they send you the money, you know what I'm saying? If they send you the money, that's not a bank, because they can pay for it and not use it. Until you actually see it on the project, that's when it's official. It used to be when the artist asks for the stems, it's a done deal. It used to be when they pay you and they send that invoice, you send an invoice and they pay you, it's a done deal. It ain't until you see that song on the album where you know it's on there, where you can see the credits, see your name attached to it. So what I started doing, and let me tell you, Sharif told me, he said, man, just keep everything on the DL and be telling nobody. You know what I'm saying? Let's just keep it on the tuck. But you know, I'm feeling myself like I'm getting it. I'm killing it with the indie artists, and then, you know, I got these 2 placements that's on the way. Man, I got to tell somebody. So what I started doing, I started, you know, telling them, yeah, man, I'm gonna be on Ambassador's new album, blah blah blah. And they be like, oh, word, oh man, I can't wait to hear it. And then there go one person, and then, you know, I told another person, and before you know it, I told a mass of people. You know, I'm sending out texts like, yeah, man, you know, I'm gonna be on blah blah blah. And all the while, Sharif told me not to do that. You know, so that was. I was that pride was like skyrocketing. And then I can remember, you know, working with some indie artists, and, you know, I would do like payment plans on tracks, just especially if, you know, the artists may have got more than one track. So I'd do payment plans, you know, and dudes would, you know, the artists would be kind of lacking on the payment plans, and, you know, I would be like, I need my money, you know what I'm saying? And I would literally be texting like, yo, man, like, bro, you know who I am? You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm doing you a favor. Check 2. All the while, and the Holy Spirit just sitting back, and he just like, okay. You know, so, you know, the first one was to just, you know, move quietly. Don't say anything. Just keep it tucked till it comes out. You know, the next thing was, number 2 was, you know, I started, you know, acting, you know, nasty with my customers, you know what I'm saying? People that were helping me provide for my family, you know. Immediately, you know, everything just going, all of that is just going out the window because, you know, pride didn't sit in. And then, you know, number 3 was, as we was waiting, you know what I'm saying, now you got this desperation going on, and there's, you know, you're starting to worry and everything. And what was happening, those 2 placements were becoming like an idol, because I couldn't see nothing else but I need to get on this project. So I'm hitting up Reef every day. Yo, man, you talk to Deuce, man, you heard anything? He was like, nah, bro, I ain't heard nothing yet. Man. He'd be like, cool, man, it's gonna work out. So, you know, I made those placements idols, you know what I'm saying? Because now I put so much into it. I told people when I should have. I started acting nasty with people. So it got to be, you know, all this that I did, it got to pay off. I need these 2 placements. So I can remember, I never heard anything. And a Sunday evening, Sharif called me. And it was crazy. I was in there cooking, and I was chopping up some onion. I can remember what I was cooking. I was making like some baked chicken, and I was chopping up some onion. And my man Sharif called me. And he was like, "Yo, Marv." I'm like, "Yo, what's up, man?" He said, it was like, "So I heard back from Deuce." And I was like, you know, I can kind of hear this hesitance, so it's not sounding good. But I'm like, okay, well, what he said? He was like, man, the joints did not make it. So, man, I'm just like sitting there. I'm chopping the onions. I stopped chopping onions, and I'm standing there, and the phone just went silence. And Reeves was like, yo, man, just keep your head up, bro. Just keep your head up. You know, this ain't the first and ain't the last. Man, look, I'm gonna send you a few dollars. You know, he trying to console me and stuff. But all the while, I knew, like in that moment, I knew like God was chastising me. And man, you know, the Bible says in Hebrews 13, around chapter 12, verse 13, I'm going to put the address on the video. He said he chastised those he loved. He disciplined those he loved. You know, it's like a child. It's like a, you know, like with my kids. You know, my kids, they doing something wrong, man. You know, I got to punish. Well, all my kids are grown except my teenager son. But, you know, I got to punish this dude when he's stepping out of line. And man, that's the same thing. I started crying as I was chopping the onion. My eyes were already watery. So, I'm chopping I'm sitting there and I just started crying, man. And Reeves was like, man, keep your head up. It's gonna work out, man. It's gonna blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, Reef, it's all good. And immediately when I got off the phone, I just knew that was God dealing with me. And he spoke to me clearly. He was like, bro, you was being prideful. And if I don't break you now and you get farther up, it's going to be a hard of a fall for you. So he said, let me break your heart now. Let me break you now so you can learn early on. So if you get up there, the fall won't be so hard. The album come out, then I had to go back and eat all the crow. People was like, yo, man, I thought you made the album, blah, blah, blah. And, and I had to just tell him, man, he decided at the last minute, not to use it. It was very humbling. It was very humbling, man. As I even think about it, just give me chills as, just to think about that time. I can remember going on a fast, on a music fast, where, I wasn't even making any music. I just backed off the boards. I needed clarity. I needed some understanding. My heart was still broken, and I made it backed away from the boards. Now, keep in mind, this is how I'm feeding my family through the music, but I had to take like a 2.5 week fast away from the music, not making anything. And I can remember one Wednesday. Well, let me start off saying this. In the midst of Sharif managing me, not only was he was working on getting me placements with different mainstream Christian artists, I was building some great relationships with some indie artists that was coming through him as well, that were actually on their way to mainstream, right? So I remember one Wednesday going into Bible study. I got a phone call from a 215 number. So the area code looked familiar. I said, man, 215. I said, who's calling me from Philly? I didn't know who it was, When I answered the phone as I'm going into Bible study, I get a phone call from an artist. And it was my man, R. Swift. And he was like, yo, Marv, what up? He was like, man, I hope you don't mind Josh giving me your number. So Josh was another mutual friend, an artist that I met through, I met Josh through another friend of mine, but we all kind of ran in the same circle. We ran in the same circle, and Sharif and Josh were good friends, and Josh and a friend of mine named Corey were good friends. So Josh gave Swift my number. And so he was like, yo, man, Josh gave me a number. I hope you don't mind. I'm like, oh, it's all good. I knew who Swift was, and he was on his way to, actually, he was with a record label, and he had actually signed to the label with the artist that I didn't get the placement on. Him and Ambassador was on the same label. Swift had just signed to him, to Cross Movement Records, which Cross Movement Records was, at that time, the biggest Christian hip-hop record label at that time. So I knew Swift had just signed the deal. So so when he called me, I'm excited, but I'm cool. I learned my lesson. I'm like, so when I'm talking, I was like, hey man, what's up, bro? He was like, man, he said, man, I said, I'm working on this album and I need some music, and I just wanted to see if you can send me some stuff. So I was like, all right, cool, man. I started sending you some stuff. So after I got off the phone with him, I said, okay, God, you're giving me another chance to get it right. So this time I moved in silence. I ain't say nothing. Only thing I was doing was making the music. You understand me? I ain't tell no. Only person knew that what I was doing and the music I was putting out was my wife. You know what I'm saying? I ain't tell nobody outside of that. And and Swift, we was working, man. we was working, and I end up landing 7 songs on his debut album, Will Cross a Woman. The album is called The Anthem. And actually, the biggest song that I produced was, we did a remix of Awesome God. And that song it's to this day, almost after 10 years, it's still, it's still being played on the radio. You know what I'm saying? You got WWE wrestlers coming out to it, MAA wrestlers coming out to that song. That's another story. We couldn't we couldn't get paid on that song because Universal ain't want to clear it, but nevertheless, it was a big song. It was a big song for me and Swift. And that album, that was like the first time that I've worked with a major artist and landed 7 songs, 7 placements on that album. That check was nice, and from that point on, it just went up. I started, just really establishing myself as a producer, beat maker, and I understood. I knew how to maneuver. You know what I'm saying? I knew how to maneuver in the music business. And, and I say this all the time. I tell this to my kids because all of my kids, except 3 of them, are musicians. And I've always stressed this to them. Like, you can be talented and gifted out the wazoo. But, man, if you don't have any character, no integrity, you know what I'm saying, you can forget it. You know what I'm saying? I don't proclaim to be the best producer. You know what I'm saying? I tell you straight up, there's some producers I know that'll run circles around me that I am a fan of, that I wouldn't go up against in a beat battle. None of that. But I've been able to be around for over 20 years because, I just learned some lessons early on. And one lesson for sure, pride. The Bible says in the book of James that he resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. And I just thank God, man, I learned that lesson early on. Over 20 years, I've still been able to provide, for my family. And all glory be to God, man, because like I say, I don't proclaim to be the best of a musician or a producer, but, he has blessed me to be able to provide for my family through this. So in return, I try to treat everybody the same. And anybody that know me, I'm like this. I don't treat my indie artists no different than the mainstream artists that I work with. Everybody's on the same playing field. You know what I'm saying? I answer when people DM me. People DM me or message me on Instagram, and they be like, "Yo, man, I can't even believe that you even responded. I wasn't even expecting you to respond." And I'm like, "Yo, man, I'm an average dude, and even as time went on, man, God has allowed me to be on other platforms, worked with other companies, you know what I'm saying, that actually, gave me a platform and stuff, and I just try to take it all in, like I take everything as a gift from God, and know that my attitude can make me or break me. How I handle people can make me or break me. And I choose to just try to I treat people the way I want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that, you just let nobody mess over you or, misuse you, mishandle you. No, man, but, at the end of the day, you just got, you got to deal with the business, but, you know what I'm saying, you got to treat people right, man. And you have to be careful of the pride. See, that pride was kicking in, and it was, and one thing about pride, it'll start to kick in, and you don't even know it didn't kick in. It's Lucifer, you know what I'm saying? He allowed his pride to get in the way. You know what I'm saying? He messed up when he said, man, look, I want to be like the Most High. You know what I'm saying? The Bible said that he was the beautifulest angel, like people seeing God's image through Lucifer. Like he had all these rubies and diamonds, you know what I'm saying, He was the most beautiful angel in the heavens, and people would see God's reflection through him. You know what I'm saying? And then he the music man too. Oh man, he want that glory. You know what I'm saying? And look, he didn't even realize it. I mean, that thing was just so subtle. He was like, wow, man. I can just imagine that scene. Like, you know, they looking at me to see him, but he's like, yeah, you got to look at me to see him. You know what I'm saying? And then eventually he was like, well, why don't y'all just see me? Because I'm the one that's kicking this thing, you know. I'm the one that's making the music, you know what I'm saying? I'm killing it, man, you know. I'm giving you your first placement, blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. You know, man, I'm telling you, that pride is, oh, man. I just thank God that I was able to learn that lesson early on. And it's a blessing, man, and it's a blessing to be able to learn from your mistakes and change, you dig? So I just wanted to encourage you guys, man, that pride is a deceivable, nasty thing that's within us. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of us, but we have to be able to recognize it and counteract that thing. And you know what? I've learned that I can only do that by God's grace, because it's just in me to be prideful. You know what I'm saying? It's in me. It's in us to be prideful. But I have to make the commitment. God, I need you to help me. I want to be able to treat people the way I want to be treated. That's a life hack. You know, I can say, I would say that's the life of a Christian. That's what I am. I've been a born again Christian for 24 years. But in actuality, it's just a life hack. You treat people the way you want to be treated. You treat people nasty, people are going to treat you nasty. But if you treat people right, people will treat you right. And they will want to be around you, and they will want to support what you're doing. All right? I don't think I've never shared this story online. I might have talked about it in a few podcasts, but I've never did a video about it. But I just felt compelled. Like I say, man, this is making a year that I've came off my job to work for my ministry and do music again full time. And man, my son had an event over the weekend, this past weekend in Fort Worth. And, you know, me and my wife, we just there as, you know, proud parents supporting. And I'm not going around saying, hey, man, I'm Marv, I did this, blah, 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 blah. You know, people just recognize you out the crowd and be like, oh, man, bro. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's it's humbling. You know what I'm saying? I'm honored, I'm humble. You know, I don't really look at myself as, you know, what, you know, people may think of me as, maybe, you know, one of the pioneers as a producer in Christian hip hop, or, you know, somebody that's, you know, people recognize and talk about. Man, I'm just trying to take care of my family, trying to pay this mortgage every month. I do understand, you know, the Bible says, let another man honor you. So, you know, with all that, I just felt compelled to tell my story, you know, and just tell you how pride almost destroyed all of this. You know what I'm saying? If I wouldn't have been paying attention, if I wouldn't have had that come to Jesus meeting early on, I probably wouldn't have nobody recognizing me in the crowd as I'm just sitting at the table with my wife, us old folks waiting to go home. But anyway, man, I just wanted to share that with y'all. Hope y'all was blessed by it. Man, let me know if you're feeling this, if you're feeling the story, man. Leave me a comment. Let's talk about it, man. Let me know if you had these same experiences, you know, or maybe this was like, yo, I needed to hear this in this moment, in this time. I would love to hear from you guys. This is your boy Marv from Mo Beats. Grace and peace. And have a good Thanksgiving, y'all. Have a good Thanksgiving. Grace and peace.